any form of service to him or her. Do not take advantage of a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether that worker is a fellow Israeli or a foreigner residing in one of your towns. Pay them their wages. Pay them their wages each day before sunset, because they are poor and are counting on it. Otherwise, they may cry to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. Hallelujah. We go to Quran. All you who have believed, fulfill all contracts. Lawful for you are the animals of grazing livestock, except for that which is recited to you in this Quran. Hunting not being what permitted while you are in the state of Ihram. I learned that is where you are in Mecca. You are not supposed to do hunting. Ihram, yes. Indeed, Allah ordains what He intends. Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah 5 verse 1. Please. Yes, that's how best I can pronounce. So please. Now, what does it mean? While this verse doesn't explicitly mention laborers, it emphasizes the importance of fulfilling contract and obligation. This concept extends to paying laborers their due wages for the work they have done. Islam places strong emphasis on fairness and justice in financial matters, including compensation for laborers. Atabir. I believe we all understood what the Bible said and also what Quran is saying concerning laborers in our field. Yes, in the days of old, most people were farmers, either crop or animal. But today, most of us who are doing something, either a business of our own, but we are not into farming or animal. Even if you are doing it, it's on a lighter or on a small scale. But the question is, if you have an employee in your house, in your store, in your offices, please, what are you doing for them? Because Quran and Bible says what? Pay your laborers well. They depend on it. And if you don't do that to them, God, what has light come? Oh, I can use it. I hear. Okay. So that is the food for thought for us. Now we'll move straight to our yes. Is it working? We move straight to agency law. As I said, when the presentation comes, the outline, we'll look at the presentation, agency law, the key concept of agency law, labor law, the key areas of labor law, and differences between agency law and employment law, principle of agency and employer-employee relationship, duties and responsibilities of agent and principal, employment contract, termination and discrimination law. If you are able to finish, fine. If you are not able to finish, please, the slides will be shared with you. When you go read, whatever the challenge is, when we meet next week, kindly bring it up so that we can all discuss. Okay. Yes, we say agency law. What does it mean? It governs the relationship between two parties. Agency law always governs the relationship between two parties. Who are the members of this party? The principal and the agent. An agency relationship arises when one person, as the agent, is authorized to act on behalf of another, and also under the control of another person or entity. That is the principal. This relationship can exist in various contexts, such as business transaction, contractual agreement, and more. Most of us working, we are employees, all right, but our company was formed by some people. Those people, we call them shareholders. When you learn corporate finance, you realize that there's this we call agency problem or agency relationship, which comes with some problems. Most of us, or those of us who have bought shares in companies, you understand that though there's a company which is on the stock market that you are a shareholder of, but you don't control their day-to-day activity. Why? Because you are not directly in charge of their day-to-day activity, even though you are part of those who form the company. So a shareholder, you are part of what? The principal, or what we refer to agency as principal. Like our banks, the owners of the bank are sitting somewhere. We, the staff, are working, but we are not their direct agent. The board of directors are the agent of shareholders. They meet and give them what? Targets. That this year, the company we have entrusted in your care, you are supposed to make a profit of, say, 20%. Now, the board of directors will come down to the management team and also transfer that target to them. And the management will also transfer the target to those who are down the ladder. At the bank, I always say that, look, those of us who are working in the branches, you may have all the beautiful knowledge and the idea, but as long as you are not part of those who made the decision, to buy share or sell share on behalf of what? Your customers. In America or other developed countries, it's a big business. Yes, people go do MBA finance or MPhil finance, EAD, and also write this as an CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst, just because they want to be investment advisors for the rich guys. And if you are their investment advisor, you are paid commission on how well the stock that you have acquired for your principal is doing. And the more your principal stocks are doing well, the more commission you also get, which becomes your form of benefit. Now, then the second aspect is the authority. One of the concepts about agencies is the authority. Agent can have actual authority. Actual authority are those that are expressly given. You are my agent for the purpose of this assignment. And our authority is spelled out in a contract document. So the authority, we have the actual authority and the apparent authority. The apparent authority are those authorities that are given to the agent by way of the conduct of the principal. Okay, today I may be selling a land, but I am not been employed by any principal to do that job, just because I heard. Like, for example, if I say anyone who will get a buyer for this, my laptop, I'll pay the person 10% on the amount of the market price that this laptop goes. I did not instructed any of you, or I have not appointed any of you as my agent. If I've done that, then you will be given an express, or what you call the actual authority. But if I've not appointed you, by your conduct, tomorrow I could see on some of you your status that, oh, laptop for sale. I will see it, but I wouldn't know that it's my laptop you're advertising. Okay, so apparently, my conduct, if tomorrow you're able to get a buyer, assuming I told you that the market price of this my laptop is 1,500, and you are able to get a buyer who is ready to buy, whatever price you negotiated with the person, I may not be aware, but I'll just be there. You call me, Mr. Frank, please, I have 1,500 for your laptop. Where can I see you and pick it? The third party who has been affected by the transaction of that agent may not know me, or did not know that the price is 1,500. Maybe you sold it to the person at 2,000. When I heard of it, I didn't do anything. Okay, the presumption is that my conduct has given the agent that power to do that kind of transaction, even though the price was higher than the market price. Now, there are different types of agents. We may not go into that aspect today, but there are a group that we call them the Del-Credel agents, because they are always looking for higher commission on the sales. Assuming I say, sell my land at 10,000, and when you sell 10,000, I'll give you a commission of 1,000 cedis. A Del-Credel agent will say, oh, master, you give me commission of 2,000. It means that that agent must indemnify me, the principal. In case somebody buys the land and did not pay, the agent must pay in order to derive the higher commission that he or she wants. So that is a Del-Credel type of agent. They always want more commission. And for that matter, they must give an indemnity to the principal. In case the third party who is acquiring the product did not pay, then they will pay. So if my land is going for what? 10,000, and the Del-Credel agent says he wants 2,000, it means that at the end of the day, it's 8,000 I will get. But what it means that when the buyer comes and offer the 10,000, and he tells me that, oh, I have a buyer who is taking the land at 10,000, but he says you get the money at the end of the month. Then before the end of the month, another person comes to buy the land with cash. Which one do you think I should pick? Yes, but there has been another already existing contract that somebody is picking it, but he will pay at the end of the month. A Del-Credel agent will quickly give me 8,000. He will look for his own money and pay me the 8,000. Okay, so that he locks the transaction at 8,000. When the buyer pays 10,000 at the end of the month, then he will enjoy a commission of what? 2,000. Because of this indemnity, I have accepted to take the 8,000, which is money at hand. Better than the 10,000 I'll be expecting, or 9,000 I'll be expecting at the end of the month. Today is 20th, 10 days more. So if I get 8,000 today and lose 2,000 to commission, is that not far better than waiting to see at the end of the month, only for the person to even disappoint me that government has not paid, or the person that's supposed to pay hasn't paid? So a Del-Credel agent will earn more commission by getting 2,000 instead of 1,000, which was agreed. Okay, and give me 8,000, and I'll also be able to use the 8,000 to do something now, because time value of money is very important in this matter. And brokers are what? Agents. So a stockbroker who goes to the stock market and buys shares on behalf of the principal are all agents. And there are other forms of agent, but I said today we want to look at the concept itself. Then when we have the notes, or whatever we read from the book that I placed on the page, you know various type of what? Agents in there. Now we look at the duties and responsibilities of agents. Agents owe duty of loyalty. If you're an agent, you are supposed to be loyal to your master. Yes, duty of loyalty. That's one of the duty that the agent owes to his master. Obedience, care, and disclosure to the principal. And the principal have obligation to compensate, reimburse, and indemnify the agent. So as an agent, you are supposed to be loyal to your master. There is another type of agency that we call agency by necessity. Agency by necessity, at all costs, you must be loyal to the highest level. Now, how does it occur? Agency by necessity. We know of a group of people who go to Burkina to buy tomatoes. The Kumasi market women, and they are from Kumasi and other towns on the Kumasi road. We see the trucks coming to pass toward Burkina, particularly those of us who use the stadium and the Bolga road more often. Now, assuming they've gone to Bolga to buy the tomatoes, then, God forbid, we hear that the ISIS have crossed the Bolga road. They say that no car is going and no car is coming. Your tomatoes have a perishable life. You know, a tomato is very perishable. Its lifespan is very short. And it happened that cargo or a border is closed. Like COVID time, no car is going and no car is coming. Your battery is running down. Oh. Let's even forget Niger and just talk about the one close to us. The Paga border is closed. Your tomatoes is over there. Okay, or even if they're able to cross Bolga, but the barriers have been closed, that after Wale, no car is coming to Tamale in order to continue to Kumasi, and no car is also going through. The driver and the mate are your agents. Most often, some of them send the money to the tomato sellers there. Okay, then the cars go and they only load and come. So within that period or that process, the driver and the mate are your agents. Now, they will become agency of necessity when they realize that the goods that they have acquired on behalf of their principal, their master, it is going to what? Perish, or it's going to be destroyed. And for that matter, they have to do something to safeguard your investment. And we all know tomatoes, assuming a crate of tomatoes is what? 450 cedis. And these tomatoes need to get to Kumasi within a matter of 2-3 days. Now, after 7 days, the tomato is still not in Kumasi and is rotting on the road. There are choppers or there are buyers around. What should you do as the mate or the driver? At that moment, you become an agent of necessity. There is a need, but there is caveat to this. You cannot sell without taking due instruction. So, if you can get to your principal who is in Kumasi or Techima, by either telephone call or any other means, okay, but you did not use it, then you will not fall under agency of necessity. All means to get your principal must fail. It must prove futile. You have tried by phone, and all the people that you know who can get to the person, you have tried to contact them, but there was no connectivity. Then at that moment, you become an agent of necessity, and that agency of necessity will be created. And you must make sure you will not let the principal lose so much. So in this case, even if you reduce the price to 400 and sell, but when you go back, you must disclose everything. If you make some supernormal profit, you must disclose it. Because one of the duties of an agent is to be loyal, obedient, and care. You are taking good care of your principal's item or property. Then, as a principal, you must also be ready to compensate. Assuming an agent incur costs in the course of one, protecting your property or going to sell, assuming you have given a land to an agent to sell, and the agent have to do an advert in the dailies or have to do an advert in the media, and it costs the agent some amount of money, the principal, one of your responsibility is to reimburse the agent, because that is what the law says. Therefore, they are not supposed to make profit at your expense. Okay, a friend told me about a story where one contractor in Tamale here was cash-strapped and decided to sell his tipper. The one they used to dig the gold, excavator, correct. And he wasn't getting a buyer. So he told, if you can bring it to Accra, I can get a buyer. And the guy said, the contractor said, he needs just $60,000 for the excavator. This guy was able to sell it at $80,000. Yes. If there has been a contract signed, okay, his duty was to what? pay to what? The master. Everything. And then he can also enjoy his due commission. But because there was no contract signed, when the third party who is coming to buy the excavator was paid, he also paid to the owner and collected his document, because that is where he can get his document and have a security for his money which is going out. Consideration is going. Therefore, he must hold something in hand. So, okay, he paid directly to the owner and collected the document. Transfer was done at the DVLA, everything. Then the guy who did the agency job, at the back of his mind, he knew that when he can, he'll get his $20,000. That is the profit he has made. And the guy gave him 2,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, you see, you have disappointment written all over your face. There was no contract. So what are you going to hold him on? As an agent, you are supposed to take care and loyal to your principal. Yes, you have not incurred any cost for the principal to reimburse you. You have sold the thing, but you didn't sign contract. So maybe you are not the only person he has informed to sell the track. That is where you cannot sue him for performance of his duty, as in compensating you duly. Okay, these are the normal things that happen day in, day out. Even though we know contract can be signed orally, we have oral contract. Okay, but it depends on the manner in which the oral contract was signed. Please, are we together? So that is one thing about agency. And there should be an indemnity, or you must be indemnify the agent. All of us who have been in the insurance industry will know that the job of insurance is all about indemnity. You are insuring my car so that in case of any damage, you will replace. Now, I must also indemnify you as a company by paying you a good premium. That is why when the insurance company charge you premium, you are supposed to pay, because they have taken an indemnity over your car, that if anything happens to your car, we what? Make sure we replace or we repair. So that is one of the jobs that the principal must do on behalf of the agent at all times. Then termination is one of the concepts. The agency relationship can be terminated by mutual agreement. Mutual agreement, we can terminate the relationship. Or by the expiration of a contract. If I say sell this laptop, the moment the laptop is sold, money exchange hand, consideration as exchange hand, that is the end of the contract, because I don't have any more laptop. But if laptop is my business, then you expect that other laptop that will come, you will still be given the job to sell. But this is the only laptop I have. So the moment you sell it, the contract has expired. The business or the agency agreement has come to an end. Please, are we together? Then we look at the employment law. The employment law encompasses the legal rights, obligation, protection that exists between employers and employees. It covers various aspects of employer-employee relations, including 1, hiring, compensation, working condition, benefit, and termination. Now let's look at them one by one. The employment contract. The agreement outlines the terms and conditions of employment, including job responsibilities, compensation, benefit, and more. The last time I was telling you that most of us, when we take our employment contract or we take loan contract, even bankers who work in a bank, the terms and conditions, most of them, we don't have time to read there. Okay. Likewise, when we take employment contract, the first thing is to check how much will be paid. The monetary aspect, because we know our strength is going to what? Go out of us. How much will be paid when we work at the end of the month? So we look at that place. Most of the time, if you look at the HR or the appointment letter, the monetary aspect, they highlight it. They also know that's the place we look at first. So they always highlight how much will be paid. I remember if I bring my UDS appointment letter to you, see that the monetary column and the grade or the position they put it, that one they highlight it black, embolding the fonts. They know that even the plate about 22 terms and conditions or policy, I may read, but it will not stick except the column number 8, which is where the money is, how much I'll be paid, is what I'll look at first. So Employers mostly highlight those portions. Just like the bankers, when you are taking any policy or insurance, you are taking any policy, the important areas, the font sizes are big. But when it comes to the terms and conditions, they are written with a smaller font size. Okay, but let's take time and read. Even if you don't read the day you were signing the contract, when you go read again, so that the moment you see some terms which are not favorable to your contract you sign, you can, as early as possible, cancel it. That is far better than what you will lose in the future. Okay, those who take loan, when you take loan and just after 1 month, you want to pay off, you pay penalty for early payment. Yes. You pay penalty for early payment because the bank has used paper and man-hour. They are workers that they are going to pay at the end of the month. They've given them targets and they have spent time to process your loan. Then after taking the money, 2 days time comes, oh, the money I've taken, I want to return it. Oh no, you can't just take what you give. You have to charge you small percentage for early payment. The law allows the bank to do that. Okay, because they would have given that money to somebody who will use it for the 4 or 5 years. And you have just come to block that channel. And after 3 days, you say, I don't want the money again. No, you can't say that one. So they charge you small for early payment. 1 month to pay. After they made a lot of profit from you. So they look at, you see, when you look at the banking, the interest rate, we have different types of interest rate. If it's a flat rate, where it's straight line, you pay the same amount for principal, the same amount for what interest. It runs to the end of the loan. If you are on amortization, amortization is evenly proportional. Whilst one is going up, another one is coming down. You see, if you take amortization repayment schedule, you see that your principal amount drops a little bit every month. But the interest drops every month, but the principal is increased. That's amortization. It's evenly proportional. Whilst one is increasing, the other one is decreasing. But when you take the real reducing balance repayment method, what you see is that your principal amount that you pay every month may be the same, but you see that your interest keeps dropping every month. That is the cheapest. But you see, the cost of fund is very expensive for the bank. So most of the banks will choose the amortization, where once your principal is dropping, once your interest is dropping, the principal amount we have given you, as we give you 10,000 and we say it's 2 years, we will spread this out that by 2 years we should collect all our principal from you. But the interest will keep reducing. Will keep reducing. Any of you want to try that? If you have a laptop in front of you, just go to Excel. Assuming you are opening an Excel sheet, you will see an amortization formula there. It's part of Excel. If you are using, what's the name? 10 or so. Windows 10. Yes, they have provided that formula and also personal budget. That one you can use it or experiment it in the house. Then you even know the loan you are taking now, how much interest you pay. And assuming you even want to increase the repayment amount by your own decision, how early or the kind of interest you save, please, you can try that when you go home. But for now, we don't have time, so look at it. And also the benefits and other things. Discrimination and equal opportunity is one of the areas that we look at as employment law. The last time I told you that you may get an offer, an employment offer, which is very juicy, very nice. The pay is good, but there are terms and conditions that they put there that if you're a woman, it may affect you. If you're a man, it can also affect you. Let's read it and be sure that none of the terms is discriminatory to us. None of the terms is discriminatory to us. And now, when we want to talk about discrimination, we have to look at certain characteristics such as race, gender, religion, age, and disability. Since the Disability Act was passed, now it became a law in Ghana that when you are putting up a story building or any building, you must make provision for those who are even using wheelchair or crutches to pass if the staircase is not favorable to them. The old buildings that were in existence before the law are exempted to some extent, but even them, they've been advised to do some modification. Okay, if you cannot put a lift in the new project you are building, then you must provide a walkway for the physically challenged people to also access whichever floor they want to go. Okay, you can't limit them to the ground floor. Like when I was in Atlantic Hall in Cape Coast, those who are physically challenged, the ground floor is a reserved place for them. Even if they have appetite or they want to go to the top, by your issue or your challenge, you are reserved to what? The ground floor. Even if you are a strong man, you want the ground floor, they will give it to you because it's reserved for anybody who is physically challenged, who cannot climb the staircase, because it's a colonial building. So they cannot do any modification now. So in other way, to make sure there's an even distribution or equality, then they decided that all the ground floor is reserved for what? Physically challenged people. Then one of the areas of employment law that we need to also know is wages and what? Hour law, the wages and hours that we spend at work, where we look at what? The minimum wage, overtime pay, and the working hours to ensure fair compensation for employees. You see, bank people are paid very well, more than the average worker. Okay, bank people are paid more than the average worker. If you just graduate from the university with BSc, banking and finance, or whichever background, and you get job at the bank, your colleague will get job at GES. The two of you will not be the same on the salary peg. The reason is that the person who works in the bank will spend more hours in the office than you who is working in GES or any other institution. Because you may go to office at 8 o'clock, and by 2 or 3 o'clock, you have closed for the day. Though vacation, you will still be marking. But the banker may go, he may have to leave as early as 6:30 or 7. That is for those of us who are in Tamale, because the traffic condition here is better. But when you're in Accra, Kumasi, you have to wake up sometime at 5:30 to leave in order to get to office before 8 o'clock. Now, when it's 5 o'clock that we close to the public, you are now coming to start your work. Balancing. You have to make sure you balance all your books. If you are a teller, your till must balance. Your inflows and the outflow must balance. If it doesn't balance, you can stay in the bank till 10 p.m. But then the GES person is sleeping. So you see why sometimes your own mates who are working in a financial institution can earn more than you because they cannot do anything with their extra time. The extra time you have, they don't have. So they must be compensated in that direction. So for you to be at par with them, you must also make good use of your extra time, either by doing something else in addition with the time. Okay, so there's one thing that we should what? Take note. So the longer or the working hours will also determine the compensation package for you. The minimum wage in Ghana is 14.88. I don't believe anybody here still earns minimum wage. Because if you earn minimum wage, I'm not sure you can pay your school fees here. Yes, that one there is a fact. Except maybe you are into betting or you do lotto, but I also know that there's 10% tax that will be affecting you when you win. That's just by the way. But it's telling you that the minimum wage in Ghana is very small. Okay, if you multiply this by 30 days, even though we work tentatively for 24 or 26 days, depending on the dates in a month, you should be looking at 30 days, which will give you less than 450 cedis. It's around 446 point something. That's the minimum wage. Now, what it means is that minimum wage is the floor. Assuming this is the height, this is the base or the floor. It should be the lowest amount that a worker should be paid. But for the highest amount, the institution you work determines how much you are paid. Okay. There are colleagues of us, though they are in the bank, some are in Bank of Ghana, others are in rural banks. The pays vary. Those who work with GN Bank those days knows you are all working in a bank, but you could be taking even less than a teacher. Okay. Though you are in a bank. So sometimes the bank where you work determines how much you earn. Now, with those who are in public service, there are some of the institutions, they pay themselves. Gridco, VRA, Netco, they are all public service. But because they pay themselves, they determine their own what? Salary scheme. Unlike us who have to do strike, okay, before we get small salary increment, we too, there's somebody who must go and negotiate on our behalf. So the places you work and the hour in which you work, the duration you work, also affect your payment or the form of compensation that you can get. Then we look at what? The worker safety and health. The worker safety and health. Laws require employers to provide a safe and healthy working environment for their employees. There are some organizations, before you enter their yard, the security must give you protective clothing to wear, PPEs to wear. If not, you are not allowed to even enter the main office. Okay. It depends on the risk level that is associated with their job. We knew some of our brothers and sisters, COVID took them when it was not their time. It's because of where they work. When COVID came, before it came to your house, somebody was already in the hospital who is treating the sick person without knowing that that person is a COVID patient and will pick it. That is a risk associated with their work. So within that period, they were supposed to be what? Compensated beyond the normal kind of remuneration they get. Okay. Then termination and wrongful dismissal. One of the labor areas is how we are employed and how we also live. One old man in my church was talking to us one day about pension to save for our retirement. And he said, every worker, there are 4 things that will happen to you in life. If you are a worker, 4 things will happen to you in life. Some are determined by yourself, others are not determined by you. One of them is that one, if you are a worker, one day you could resign from the employer, the job you are doing. 2, you will retire. 3, you will die. 4, you can be sacked. You can be sacked. So termination can come to you, or you can be retrenched. Yesterday, I was having I took my wife to the market, and when we parked at Bank of Africa, whilst waiting for her to then I was having a chat with the driver. When I was there, the gentleman who was driving the office car, and it was like, he wrote a letter that he will resign without knowing that the next month they were going to retrench them. Yes. He just had something just done on him to apply for a job, a driving job himself, an NGO. So he applied and requested for leave to go. And the only person who knew that he may not come back was the operation manager. But he said he wanted to go and test the place. If it's good, if it's not good, then he will come back and continue his bank driving job. Then once we're talking, a lady also came in. It was a teller. And I said, oh, did the retrenchment affect her? They said, oh, she even left 1 month before the retrenchment happened. I said, so how did you know? He said, her God that she served is a living God. That she had a feeling that she should resign because the former employer was still calling on her and has increased the offer that she used to enjoy the previous time to a better offer now. Though now this place is an air-conditioned environment, that one she has to be on the field. But the offer that her previous boss was giving, she thinks is better. So she just decided to resign. Exactly 1 month, then HR called that they are retrenching some people. The painful one was those who left WA to come to Tamale, rented a place, knowing that they are coming to work, settle in Tamale. 1 year, you are told that your job has come to an end. Unprepared for such a news. This is a very big news. But know that, please, it's an advice to all of us who are working. The very day you took employment letter and you started work, know that anytime your job can come to an end. You think it's a permanent job. No job is permanent. Yes, employment contract that you take, they are all contracts. And contract can come to at its end any moment in the course of what? The period. One, either by mutual agreement, you yourself, you will resign because you've gotten a better offer or you want to go and do your own business. Or you'll be fired because of certain costs, justifiable costs in the course of employment. Or you'll be retrenched because economic conditions are not favorable for the company to maintain the staff level. And who knows? The position is the one that have to sacrifice. Okay, your position could be the one that will be sacrificed, and it will hit you like a blow. Now, if it hits you, what are the compensation packages? That is why the law, we need to study it, so that if it affects us, we know where to what, go for remedy. So please, as management people, business administration people, please, let's read all our employment contracts. Even those we give to people, let's read it. So that tomorrow when they take the law against us, being the HR managers, we will know where also to go for remedy. It's not only the employee who need to know the law or who need to know the terms of their engagement. We, the employers, we need to have control over the terms and conditions that we give to them. So now we look at agency and employment where they interface each other. It's important to know that both agency law and employment law can intersect in certain situations. For instance, employers may appoint agents to represent their interests in business transactions, creating an agency relationship. A shareholder who has appointed a board of directors has created an agency relationship. Okay, even though a company has been formed, but the directors are going to be what? Agents of the shareholders. Okay, that is where they intercept. Similarly, employers have a duty to ensure that their agents, such as managers, treat employees fairly and comply with employment law. The board of directors are agents of the shareholders, but the board of directors will now come and practice the employment aspect of the law by employing people who will help them achieve targets given to them by their principal. The shareholders are the principal. They have given targets to the board of directors. Then at the board level, they come out with what? A policy and how to run the organization. Then they can say that this year, as a bank or as a financial institution, please pardon me, I use them because that's where I last went before joining UDS. So it's the easiest place I go for my example. Okay, the banks, this year you made a profit of say 50 million. Next year, as board of directors, we expect you to bring a profit of 80 million. The 80 is that margin or the difference is a percentage of your previous year. How do you board of directors achieve this? So at that moment, an agency relationship has been created between the shareholders and the board of directors. Now, the board of directors and the staff, there's going to be an employment relationship. They have to go and look for the right staff, or if they are staff already, the kind of training you give to them so that they can help you achieve that percentage increase in your target. If not, you cannot do the job by yourself. Board of directors, assuming you're in Accra, how do you get to customers in Tamale? You need to employ people who can best fit in the Tamale environment and work to bring you the result you want. So when the two intersect each other at a point, immediately after that, then another will take over. That is the employment aspect will take over. Now we want to look at the differences between the agency law and the employment law. First, agency law. In agency law, the focus is on what? So here we look at the nature of the relationship. The difference number one is the nature of the relationship between these two groups of people. In the case of agency, the focus is on the relationship between the principal and the agent. The agent acts on behalf of the principal, and the principal can be held legally responsible for what? The agent action under certain circumstances. Then the employment law revolves around the relationship between employer and employees. Employees work for employers and are entitled to certain rights, benefits, and protection under the law. Okay, so where there's an agency relationship between the shareholders and the board of directors, the board of directors will now drop to the level of what? Employment, and now employ management staff who will also employ the operational staff who will do their job and make sure that the relationship between an employer and employee works to the betterment of the organization's objective. So you see there are slight differences. By the end of the day, these differences brings further relationship for those down the chain. So first we look at the nature of the relationship. Then two, we look at the parties involved. Agency law, the key parties are the principal and the agent. The principal grants authority to the agent to act on their behalf. But in employment law, the primary parties are the employer and the employees. And the employer hires the employees to perform work and provide services. You are to be in the office to either meet customers' needs, complain. Customer service officer, that's your job. You have been employed. Somebody within the same organization has been employed to do what? Credit. That's the credit officer in the case of what? A bank. In the case of educational institution, the headmaster is there, but there are other teachers who are also going to be there to teach. And the duty of the headmaster is to supervise the work of what? The other members. So if the other members are not performing, it means that you, the headmaster, your supervisory role is not being performed well. Because the organization is looking at the end of the day to produce students with a very good grade. How do they get this good grade? By teachers taking them through teaching and learning. Are they providing the right stuff? Are they meeting the need of the student by following the what? The syllabus that has been provided by GES? If that is so, then you are sure of meeting the performance target. A headmaster of friend of mine said that he took an appointment from Faith Hill Community School some time ago. And before he took that appointment, the previous year best grade was aggregate 13. Aggregate 13 was the best grade in the previous year, BEC, before he took the offer letter. And one of the challenge given to him by the school is that they want to get a single digit in his term as a headmaster. That they want students to get single digit, as in aggregate 6, 7, 8, 9, before they even go to the double of 10, 11, and 12. The previous year was 13. That was the best student in that school, had 13. Now he's supposed to work to make sure that he achieves a single digit. How will he do that? The relationship between him now is an agency relationship from his employer, the shareholder of the school. He's not supposed to now deal with his workers in an employee relationship manner to make sure that the policy or the subject that the school is supposed to do are done well and the teachers are on top of their issue. Either their reporting time, the time they close, and the extracurricular activity that the student can be involved in for them to be able to achieve this result. Yes, after 2 years of his stay, yes, the school started making single numbers before he left. So he left on a good note with respect of what? Performance, academic performance. He has achieved that his what? Result, but he left on other reasons. So we look at the parties involved now. So we look at the legal relationship. The agency relationship is based on the agent's authority to act for the principal. The agent action can legally bind the principal. So if you're an agent, every action of yours is legally binding on your principal. But there are caveats or there are exceptions where you act within your authority. If your principal gives you a job to do, it means you have an authority to operate. If you exceed your authority and your principal does not come to rectify that exception, or you going ultra vires, your action will no more be binding on him. I've instructed you to make sure you take my car from here to Tamale Technical University. Because you have a girlfriend at Pasi, you decided to what? Run faster than the normal speed limit so that you can get to Tripoli or Tatu and continue to see your girlfriend before the time. Okay? When you come to law of tort, there's something called vicarious liability. Every worker, anything you do in the course of your working hours, if there's a problem or there's a liability, your employer, for example, as I'm teaching you right now, UBS is vicariously liable for any harm or any liability that I will cause, because they have given me frank time to teach between 1:30 to 3:30. Within that period, everything I'm doing, they will take responsibility. If I create any problem here, they have to take responsibility. But after teaching, at least there's margin of error. Say, like today, you went for lunch at what? Almost 1 o'clock, because there was some 30 minutes extra that was done from the early morning class that went to affect your lunch break, snack break, that also affected your second lecture. So by the time we met here, the Dr. Isa finished at what? Almost 1 o'clock. Assuming I also finished at 4 o'clock, it's a reasonable margin. But after 6 p.m., when most of you are expected to be at home, then they will hear that Frank is still doing another teaching under the MBA class, and the problem ensues. I will carry my cross alone because I have exceeded the allowable time. 30 minutes after class, yes, it's a margin of error. It's possible that you will be having some extra discussion that will send us 30 minutes after the normal time. But when you come to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. is 1.5 hours after the approved time. Then I'm still with you and a problem happens. UDS will raise their hand that he carries his own cross. And that one vicarious liability will not what? take place. So legally, when an agent, you are acting on behalf of your principal, all your actions are legally binding on the principal because you took your authority from the what? The principal. He has given you power to operate, but do not exceed your powers. Most of the time, the companies exceed their powers. That they call under company law, we say that they've gone ultra vires. There's a limit you should operate, but you have gone beyond that limit in order to operate. So in corporate law, agency relationship mostly happen or it comes to play because the shareholders are expecting you to come home with a good return. But workers are looking at how they can pay themselves hefty salaries, like what we are experiencing currently.